This is my second video update. This is going to be a nighttime video. Let's give this another shot and see how it turns out. I am in a square known as Omonia Square in Athens. It's pretty much the center of Athens, one of the main squares. And let me think here where I want to walk. Let's walk around. Let's walk around the square here of Omonia. And I want to discuss two stories and the clown world. We'll do two stories and the clown world. And the main story that I want to talk about is the Washington Post article. I think that's the big story. Then we could talk about King Clown himself, Boris Johnson, and some of the comments that he made during a Bloomberg interview. And then we'll wrap it up with a clown world about Henry Kissinger. We got an interesting clown world there. So let's talk about the Washington Post article. I will find links to that article. And I will also put a link to a Zero Hedge article, which kind of summarizes what the WaPo said. But basically the big deal with the Washington Post article, the Jeff Bezos, Amazon founder, owner, Jeff Bezos, Washington Post. The big deal with this article is that it is the first mainstream media publication, the first outlet that has now reported on the truth as to what is happening in Ukraine. And the Washington Post just lays it all out there. They pretty much say in a nutshell that things are going really, really bad for Elensky. The military in Donbass is, they're getting annihilated. Things are not good. The troops' morale is very, very low. A lot of retreats, a lot of surrenders. The troops are basically saying that they're being sent to the front line with nothing, just as cannon fodder, that word, cannon fodder. The troops are saying that they're getting no support. Things are bad, and that the Russian military, it's overwhelming, was what many of the troops in Ukraine are relaying back to the Washington Post, the reporting of the Washington Post. So they paint a very bleak picture. Read the article, read the Zero Hedge article as well, which summarizes everything. And I think you get a pretty good idea, a good picture as to what's happening there. And the big question is, why is the Washington Post publishing this after 3 months of Ukraine is winning and Russia is losing, and Putin is desperate and the Russian army is terrible? 3 months we've been treated to this narrative, and now all of a sudden, bam, you get the Washington Post coming out with this. Well, I think there's two reasons that this is happening. First of all, let me just say this. The Washington Post is the newspaper of the Democrat, neoliberal, DC think tank, LA, Hollywood elite, right? This is their newspaper. I mean, this is the DC think tank, neoliberal, Democrat, MSNBC, CNN crowd. And then you have all the neolibs on both coasts, the East and the West. This is their newspaper. This is their publication. So the fact that they're putting this out there is basically a message to these people. I mean, you know, this is for them. This is for their consumption. You know, I'm not someone that reads the Washington Post, and I doubt that people that are watching this video are subscribed to the Washington Post. But you know, their audience is that MSNBC, CNN, I would imagine BBC crowd, you know, the neolibs, the neolib warmongers. So why are they coming out with this article? Reason number one, this is just my opinion. The Washington Post is trying to paint a picture of things going badly in Ukraine in order to try and convince the Biden White House to send the heavy stuff, the big stuff, the missiles, the MLRS, the long-range rockets, all of these things. We're getting news that Boris Johnson wants to send MLRS systems. We're getting news that the Biden White House was thinking of sending heavy weapons and long-range missiles, but now we're getting news that the Biden White House is backing off of that. We're kind of getting mixed signals, but perhaps one of the reasons that the Washington Post put out this article is to say, you know what, without sending the right weapons, sending more of the right weapons and the heavy stuff, the long-range missiles and all of these things, then the Ukraine army has no chance. So Biden White House, you got to send these weapons now. You got to approve it and send it right away. So that could be the first reason why this article was posted. But when you read the article, I don't think that was the general vibe of it. I mean, when you go through an article, you can kind of get the general feeling and you can understand, is this article about trying to convince the Biden White House to spend more money to arm Ukraine? Is that what this article is about? I didn't get that feeling. You read it, you be the judge. The feeling that I got from this article is reason number 2 why this was published. I think this article is running interference. They're getting ahead of the narrative, which is going to be that the Ukraine military and the Elensky regime is not only losing, but is about to collapse. And I think this article is getting ahead of it. And they're preparing everybody, especially the neoliberal think tank, DC, East and West Coast elite. They're preparing them for, instead of a hard landing, when the truth comes out, for a soft landing. And you know, a mainstream media outlet would have had to publish the truth sooner or later. And I think that the deep state and all of these powers that be, these globalist forces, and the powers that have been driving this war, they decided that the publication that's going to kick things off, publishing the truth as to what's really going on in Ukraine, that publication, that news outlet is going to be the Washington Post. Someone had to do it. Some publication had to publish this, had to put out the truth, because you're not going to be able to hide this much longer. You're not going to be able to hide a collapse in the Donbass. You're not going to be able to hide a Russian victory. You're not going to be able to hide the Elensky regime collapsing. How are you going to hide this? So they had to get ahead of it. Someone had to put this out, and it was the Washington Post that's going to kick things off. Expect more articles, CNN, MSNBC, BBC, Sky News. Expect all of them now to come out with fresh narratives as to how things are going badly in Ukraine, and the military is under-equipped, their morale is low, and things are not going well in Donbass. So expect those articles to start coming out now. This is a narrative shift. It's a narrative shift, and it's a narrative shift that's being put out there in order to prepare people for what's about to come. And you know, I think the timing for it sounds about right, because I get the feeling that much of the collective West has kind of moved on from Ukraine. You know, they just don't seem as interested in it, and they're itching to change the flag on their social media. Let me put it that way. So they had the koof stuff and the mask stuff, then they switched over to the blue and yellow, and I think now they're ready to move on to the next thing and the next flag on their social media accounts. So the timing kind of fits as well. It's just not, Ukraine is the most important story, one of the most important stories in the world. I mean, the world has changed because of what's happened in Ukraine, but you know, people have kind of moved on from it in the collective West. We did a live stream today, and you know, I said how I was reading an article that a radio station in Poland actually said that Ukraine refugees living in Poland, in Krakow to be more specific, that Ukraine refugees in Krakow are not going to get free public transport anymore starting June 1st. They're going to have to pay to use the tram and the buses and all these things. And when I read that, I said, huh, that's interesting. Poland is actually going to make the refugees pay now. And the first thing that came to my mind was people are moving on, even in Poland, one of the most pro-Ukraine, anti-Russian narrative countries around. Someone's upset. Yeah. So, yeah, when I saw that, I was like, yeah, people are moving on. Societies are moving on. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying what the general vibe is. That's what's happening. You know, you go to the front pages of the BBC or other publications in the US or the UK, you can see that Ukraine has fallen off the front pages. So I believe that the reason the WaPo article was put out there was because they're preparing for the narrative shift, and they're preparing the ground for when the Russians do win in the Donbass, and when the Elensky regime does collapse, whatever that means. A collapse could be a coup. I know Gonzalo Lira did a video and he talked about a coup. A military coup is possible. You know, I say this, maybe Elensky comes to his senses and strikes a peace deal, though I doubt it. The Russians have said that they don't see any signs of that. They actually said it today, Lavrov. He said he doesn't see any signs of Ukraine or the Elensky regime wanting peace. Perhaps Elensky calls up Boris Johnson. This is going to be a good segue to the next topic, which is Boris Johnson. Maybe he calls up Boris Johnson, who has taken a liking to Elensky. And he says, look, you've given me UK citizenship. I've got 800 million sitting in UK and US banks. Let me get out of here. And maybe he leaves the country, packs up his bags, him and his production staff, you know, Aristovich and all these guys, they pack up their stuff and they become a government in exile, so to speak. That's a possibility as well. I don't know. I'm just saying that some sort of big change could be coming in the government in Kiev. We'll see. We will see what happens, but there's no doubt that the beginning of the end, I'm not saying the end, I'm saying the beginning of the end of the war in Donbass is pretty clear now, and the Washington Post is admitting to it. So, a good segue now to Boris Johnson. So Boris Johnson gave an interview to Bloomberg, I believe it was Bloomberg, and this was a bizarre interview. First of all, Boris Johnson and Bloomberg, they've got this little joke where they call Vladimir Putin the crocodile. Boris Johnson said this in the past. He said Putin was a crocodile and he, you know, surrounds you and bites away and chomps away at your territory. So they're trying to give Putin a nickname, the crocodile. All right. I don't think that's a bad nickname, by the way. It's actually kind of a cool name. If someone called you the crocodile, that's not bad. That's a cool nickname. It's much better than being called Bozo the clown, like Boris Johnson. Or what do they call Boris Johnson? Peppa the Pig Johnson. I would much rather be the crocodile than Peppa the Pig. But that is what they call him, Peppa the Pig. Yeah, look that up and you'll understand why many people call him that. So Boris Johnson gave the interview and he talked about how Putin's a crocodile and he's eating away at Ukraine's territory. He also admitted that Russia's gaining territory, though he said it's like a marginal gains. Marginal gains. Are they getting territory or not? Yes, there you go. If Russia is getting territory, then someone must be losing territory. I believe that the New Atlas says it best. The New Atlas says it best. They say this. They say if Russia is gaining territory, that means someone is losing territory. So there you have it. So Boris admitted that things are not going well, though he tried to cover it up a little. And then he said the strangest thing of all. And this was the dumbest, weirdest, most sinister thing that he said during the interview. He said that Elensky and Ukraine should form a second EU, a second NATO alliance. And it should be the UK, Elensky, and the Baltic States. And it should be like an offshoot of the European Union or NATO, some sort of combination of both. And he said this because the EU is not moving forward with letting Elensky and Ukraine into the Union. They're getting a lot of pushback. The oil embargo, it's not working out. Italy is starting to have a change of heart. Hungary is standing firm. Greece is signaling that they won't be able to put an oil embargo. And just basically the whole EU solidarity against the Putin regime thing is crumbling, against Putin's tyranny. The solidarity against Putin's tyranny, it's just all falling apart. And 40 companies have signed on to gas for rubles, and Germany's having cold feet anyway. The situation is really bad. So in comes Boris Johnson with this crazy idea, with this dumb idea, and with a very sinister idea. And that is to create a new European Union. But this European Union will consist of the Baltic states, who are super anti-Russian, like super duper, Ukraine, and the UK. Wonderful. So Boris Johnson, he won on his Brexit stance. He won the election and became prime minister because he was the one that said he would get Brexit done. And he did all of that stuff only to move the UK back into the EU, because the UK now has kind of been sucked back into the European Union because of the Ukraine conflict. And he now wants to create another EU and move the UK into that as well. Real smart, real good move, Boris. And not only that, I find this move by Boris to be absolutely evil and sinister, because what's Boris trying to do? He knows Ukraine is losing. He knows people are dying. Elensky has even said 100 people a day are dying. Or he said we're losing. He said Ukraine's losing 100 people a day. So that could mean they're dying, or maybe they're surrendering or being captured. So you know that he's lowballing it, and that 100 is probably something more like 300 or 400. So even Elensky admitted that things are not going well. And yet, what does Boris try to do? Instead of telling Elensky, let's find a peace, it's over, let's save Ukrainian lives, let's try to save the country, let's try to do something to bring peace to Ukraine, what does Boris do? He does the same thing that he did when he flew to Kiev and told Elensky to not find peace with the Russians, way back, like a month and a half ago, when he made his unannounced visit to Kiev. And he told Elensky, don't you dare come to a peace with Russia. He's doing the same thing now. He is telling Elensky, don't you dare quit now. It's not over. And what could I do to keep you in the game, Elensky? What could I do to keep you fighting this war and to keep Ukrainian men, Ukrainian military, to continue to die? And he comes up with this second EU plan. Very sinister. He's doing all of this so he can prolong the war. And during our live stream, Alexander said that one of the main reasons he wants to prolong the war, is because he wants to save his own political hide. Because the domestic issues in the UK, if those started to come into focus, then Boris Johnson could lose the prime ministership, so to speak. That's why he's doing this. He's doing this to distract and deflect away from his terrible Partygate, economic inflation, high fuel costs, high energy bill crisis that he's brought on to the UK. And he's focusing on Ukraine because he thinks he can fool the UK people to not focus on the terrible job he's doing at home. So that's one of the reasons he's doing it. Another reason why I think he wants to prolong the war, and why he's trying to egg Elensky on to continue fighting, is because he's been told to do this by various parts of the globalist hierarchy. Which parts? Probably like the Newland, Kagan, Blinken side of things, Hillary Clinton, that side of things. The Washington Post article definitely shows that there's another side to the globalist machine, which is saying, get out, this is over. It did not work out well, we're done. So I think it's that Washington Post globalist side of the equation that has won out and is going to win out, and they're going to be the ones that are going to say, you know what, Newland, Hillary, Blinken, all you crazies, it's over. It's over. It's done. Let's move on to the next thing. I think they're going to win out in the end. But no doubt Boris is, Peppa Pig is aligned with the wrong group of people. He's aligned with the group of people that want to prolong the conflict. So various reasons for why Boris is dangling this alternative EU to Elensky. But whatever the reasons, however many there are and whatever they are, it's pure evil, because he's willing to sacrifice the lives of so many soldiers and so many young men for his own political survival and for and at the orders and at the behest of certain globalist forces. Maybe Soros may be one of those forces that wants to keep the fighting going. So let's move on now to a clown world, and we'll wrap up this night video. I really hope this one turned out okay. This is going to be a quick clown world, and it has to do with one of the globalist forces, one of the deep states that came out at the WEF just recently and said that we need to find peace in Ukraine, and we have 2 months left. And that is Henry Kissinger. So Henry Kissinger at 98, actually I think he's now 99, at 99 years old. I think he had his birthday today or yesterday. I was reading an article, it said something like that. At his age of 99, he has come to his senses, or he has more sense than 99% of the DC swamp. And he said, look, it's over. It's over. We need to find a peace. Ukraine should even give up territory if that's what it means. And let's end this thing. And he said we have 2 months to do it. I think he's being generous. I think maybe they have a couple of weeks, not 2 months, to find peace. And that's if the Russians even want to come to an agreement at this point. I don't think the Russians believe anything that's coming from the collective West anymore. But Kissinger, he made a statement. He said what he said at the WEF. And the fact that he said that Ukraine should surrender, pretty much that's what he said. They should surrender, they should give up territory, and they should end this. Well, it pissed off Ukraine officials and Ukraine media, and they have put on like the most wanted kill list. And it's this list that's maintained by this group called, oh gosh, I forgot the name, Mitro Verts or something like that. I'll put it on the screen. And this publication, this database, it keeps a list of all the people that are not welcome in Ukraine, that are considered enemies of the state. And many people think it's also like it works as a list to delete people, if you know what I mean, because there have been journalists who were on this list, Ukrainian journalists, and the minute they were put on this database list, which is published on the internet, a couple of journalists were actually murdered. So this is not a good list to be on, because there are some crazy NAZIs who take a look at this list and they do crazy things like what they did to these journalists. And so Kissinger is on this list. By the way, Orban is on this list. He's been designated an enemy of the Ukrainian state. And it's terrible. These are not the actions of a normal functioning society and a normal functioning government. They don't put database deletion lists out there for everyone to see. But this is what a fascist NAZI regime, like the Elensky regime, that's what they do. And this list, actually this list has been out there since Poroshenko as well. So this just shows that the problem, the NAZI problem in Ukraine runs long and deep. And that's the clown world. That is the clown world that is Ukraine. That is the clown world that is this database. And I'm going to wrap up the video there. So we did a nighttime video. We did a long walk from Ammonia all the way to pretty much Kolonaki almost. That's a long ways. We'll end the video there, theduran.locals.com. And this video might go up tomorrow morning, by the way, so I don't know if I'll get this up tonight. So this will be a nighttime video that most people will see in the morning my time. Take care.